That night, I stood outside the church, my heart pounding like a drum that refused to stop. The rain was falling hard, soaking through my clothes, but I couldn't move. Through the stained glass window, I could see them. My brother, Daniel, standing at the altar, and her. The woman I once held in my arms, now dressed in white, promising forever to someone else. My own brother. I felt my world collapse in slow motion. The whispers of the guests, the soft melody of the wedding march, they all blurred into a haunting echo in my mind. I wanted to run in, to scream, to stop it. But something inside me froze, because deep down, I knew the truth. She wasn't marrying him out of love. She was hiding something, something that would destroy us all. I met her on a rainy afternoon, under the old willow tree near our family's farm. Her name was Clara, a woman with warm brown eyes, soft golden skin, and a gentle smile that could silence every storm inside me. She was kindness itself, and from the first moment, I knew my heart had found its home. We would talk for hours about dreams and fears, about life beyond our small town. But what I didn't realize then was that my brother, Daniel, had been watching us, and in his silence, he had fallen for her too. Daniel and I had always shared everything since childhood: clothes, laughter, even pain. But when Clara came into our lives, I didn't want to share her. I believed she was mine because love had chosen me first. I remember telling my mother about her, and the way her eyes sparkled with approval made me feel like the world was finally on my side. Every moment with Clara felt like a promise that the future was ours. Then came the day she introduced herself to my family. Daniel greeted her with his usual charm, the kind that could win anyone's heart. I brushed it off, thinking my bond with her was stronger. But the way she smiled back at him that day left a strange feeling in my chest. It was small, almost invisible, but it was the first crack in a love I thought was unbreakable. As weeks turned into months, I noticed her growing distant. Our conversations lost their warmth. She stopped meeting me under the willow tree. I told myself she was just busy, but my heart knew better. I began to feel that my love was slipping through my fingers, and no matter how tightly I tried to hold on, she was already halfway gone. And then one evening, as the sun bled into the horizon, she told me the words that shattered everything. "I think we need space." I stood there speechless, watching her walk away, not realizing she was walking straight into my brother's arms. Time passed, but pain didn't. I tried to move on, burying myself in work, pretending I was fine. Then one night, I received the invitation that broke me all over again. Daniel's wedding invitation. My heart froze when I saw her name printed beside his. Clara. The woman I loved was marrying my brother. My hands trembled, and for a long time, I just stared at that card, feeling my chest tighten as if my soul had been ripped apart. I confronted Daniel, my voice shaking, asking how he could do this to me. He said love wasn't a choice, that she had chosen him. I wanted to hate him, but I couldn't. He was my brother, the man who once shielded me from every pain. But now he had become the source of the deepest wound I'd ever known. I didn't attend the wedding. I couldn't bear to see her wearing white for someone else. Months later, Clara reached out to me. She said she wanted to talk. Against my better judgment, I agreed. When we met, her eyes were filled with tears. She confessed that she had always loved me, but her parents forced her to marry Daniel because of a debt her family owed ours. My blood ran cold. She had been trapped in a love she didn't choose, just like I had been trapped in a heartbreak I couldn't escape. That night, I realized that Daniel didn't know the truth either. He had married her believing she loved him. I felt pity and pain collide within me. The woman I loved was living a lie, and my brother was living in ignorance. I wanted to tell him, but I couldn't bring myself to destroy his world. So I carried the secret, a silent curse binding all three of us. I watched their lives from afar, their smiles, their photos, their carefully crafted happiness. But sometimes I caught Clara's eyes in those pictures, and I could see it, that hidden sadness, the same pain that mirrored mine. Years passed, and life went on, or so it seemed. I tried dating, tried finding joy again, but every woman I met reminded me of Clara. Then one day, Daniel called me in panic. He said Clara had fallen ill and wanted to see me. My heart raced as I drove to the hospital, not knowing what to expect. When I entered her room, she smiled weakly, her eyes tired but still beautiful. She took my hand and whispered, "I never stopped loving you." I froze. Daniel stood by the door, silent. I could feel the air thicken with emotion and confusion. She turned to him and said, "I'm sorry, Daniel. I should have told you the truth years ago." I watched as my brother's face twisted in disbelief and pain. In that moment, everything we had buried for years came crashing to the surface. The truth was no longer a secret. It was a wound ripped open before us. Daniel didn't speak. He simply walked out, his silence heavier than any words. Clara squeezed my hand, tears streaming down her face. "I never wanted to hurt anyone," she whispered. And for the first time, I realized love isn't always pure. Sometimes it's built on sacrifices and impossible choices. Days later, Daniel moved out of their home. He didn't return my calls. The bond between us, once unbreakable, had turned to ash. I visited Clara often, sitting beside her bed, reliving memories of the willow tree, of what could have been. She smiled through her pain, but I could see her fading, not just in body, but in spirit. When she passed away, I stood alone by her grave. My heart was hollow. I had lost my love, my brother, and a part of myself that would never heal. Love had given me everything, and taken everything away. After Clara's death, I tried to find peace. But the silence between Daniel and me grew unbearable. I wanted to explain, to tell him that none of this was his fault, nor mine. But some wounds run too deep to heal with words. He eventually moved away, leaving me behind with memories and regrets. Every time I pass that old willow tree, I can almost hear her laughter, soft and distant, like a memory refusing to fade. I often ask myself if things could have been different. If I had fought harder, if she had defied her parents, if Daniel had seen the truth earlier, would we all have been happier? But life doesn't work with ifs. It moves forward, dragging us with it, forcing us to live with choices that haunt us. Now I understand that love is not about possession. It's about acceptance, even of the pain it brings. I loved Clara truly, and though she never became mine, her memory still guides me. It reminds me that love can be both a blessing and a punishment. Sometimes, I dream of the three of us together again, laughing, unbroken, untouched by fate. In those dreams, there's no jealousy, no betrayal, just love, pure and eternal. But when I wake, reality settles in, and I realize that some stories aren't meant to have happy endings. And yet, despite everything, I don't regret loving her. Because even in heartbreak, love gave my life meaning, and that I will carry forever. Love can be both a gift and a curse. It teaches us joy, pain, and forgiveness, sometimes all at once. In my story, I learned that love doesn't always end the way we wish, but it still shapes who we become. Never take for granted the people who love you genuinely, because sometimes timing and fate have other plans. Cherish honesty, because secrets, no matter how noble, destroy silently. And always remember that forgiveness, even when undeserved, is the only path to peace. If my story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay with me for more stories that remind us how fragile yet beautiful life and love can be.